This is a very important quasi-royal site. It began at the beginning of the Middle Ages, about 1200 AD. We hope to, first of all, prove the existence of some of the Tudor buildings and find out more about them, but equally importantly, go back for 300 years before the Tudors, right back to the beginning of the site. And yes, we have found evidence that the first manorial buildings were built here about 1200 AD.
Yes, we've been interested for some years in finding out about Woking Palace. We knew for a long time that it was an important site in the medieval period and went on to be used by royalty, particularly Henry VII and Henry VIII, through the late 15th and into the 16th centuries. But as you can see behind you, it's been almost totally demolished. So there was plenty to find out about 4 centuries of history under the ground, and we're delighted that we were able to organise this excavation in conjunction with Surrey Archaeological Society and Woking Borough Council to find out more about the site. Found a lot of information about the walls and other elements that are buried beneath the ground. We can see that there were more extensive medieval elements to the palace than we previously knew, and we're beginning to get an idea of how royalty, particularly Henry VII and Henry VIII, adapted the palace to suit their greater needs than were required in the medieval period. So we're learning an awful lot. We've got some very interesting finds. But really with this kind of work, it's afterwards, when you piece together the evidence of the finds, the evidence of the records, what we can see in the ground, and what we knew already, to make a much more coherent story. So there'll be a lot more to say as time goes on.
Well, it's a very large site. It's 8 acres. We have run 4 weeks of geophysics on it, first of all, to firm up our thoughts about where we will put the trenches. Because it's a scheduled ancient monument, we have to get English heritage consent, not just in general, but in detail. And because it's a scheduled ancient monument, we're not allowed to use a digger to come in and dig deeply. So we had a digger in just to take off this very rough surface. And so physically, for the diggers, it's been quite hard because it's all been dug by hand.
Well, new to me was the chance to discover these tiles that were specific to this site that came from Spain. A few have been found, but it was really nice that the volunteers got a chance to actually dig them up on this site. So that was particularly nice. And the main thrust was to have public involvement and engagement, and I think we've been able to achieve that, having about 120 people who've never dug before being involved throughout the course of the 3 weeks. So I think it's it's a testament to the interest levels in Woking. That
Well, we've been running a lecture series. I've been running a lecture series on Woking Palace ever since I became chairman of the Friends. There will be quite an extensive lecture series starting this November, organised by Surrey History Centre, and hopefully we will raise public awareness sufficiently that we are able to attract more money for years 2 and 3.
The lecture series is focused around the idea of royals and revolution, because between, I suppose, the earlier part of the 16th century and the middle of the 17th century, there were enormous changes in England. The dissolution of the monasteries under Henry VIII released vast amounts of land onto the market, and there was a transformation in how the land was used and how the economy developed. So that's one kind of revolution, but obviously at the other end we have the revolution of the Civil War, when the king himself was overturned, and we had for a brief while at least a republic in England. So there are a lot of fascinating developments in history during that period, and this site itself covers that era and those developments to a large extent.